Archaeologists have unveiled a 3,500-year-old city in Peru that likely served as a trading hub linking.
When the past outsmarts the present, science is left blinking in disbelief. Nowhere is that more evident than in the high Andes of Peru, where the Inca stone walls stand like a defiant riddle carved into granite. These fortresses and temples have held their ground for half a millennium, shrugging off earthquakes that have reduced nearby colonial buildings to rubble. No mortar binds these walls. No cement glues the blocks together. Just enormous granite boulders, each uniquely shaped, locked in place so tightly that not even the thinnest razor blade can slip between them. For centuries, explorers and scientists have stared at these structures, their confidence in modern engineering quietly shaken. How could a society that lacked iron tools, wheels, or written mathematics achieve a standard of precision so extreme that even 21st century contractors struggled to replicate it? The Incas did not merely pile stones into neat rows. They built enduring monuments that seemed to mock the very limits of physics, monuments that survived hundreds of earthquakes without losing their seamless joints. The question looms larger the more we look. Who exactly were these people? Were they simply master craftsmen whose techniques have been lost to time? Or was there some other factor, some forgotten science or vanished technology, that allowed them to shape, move, and fit stones with supernatural accuracy? The first clues came not from archaeologists but from engineers. A team from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology set out to understand how these walls managed to survive 5 centuries of violent tremors. Using modern structural analysis software, they discovered that the Incas' famous random stonework was anything but random. The walls irregular, puzzle-like patterns, with stones of every imaginable size and shape, at first looked like the whimsical work of artists. But when researchers fed precise measurements into stress-testing models, a startling truth emerged. Those irregular outlines were deliberate engineering choices. By locking the stones into complex, interlocking geometries, the Incas created a structure that distributed seismic energy across the wall. Instead of cracking along predictable lines, the stress was redirected and dissipated, an approach so effective that many modern earthquake-resistant designs echo the same principles. What's truly mind-bending is the timing. The science of earthquake-resistant construction didn't appear in Western engineering manuals until the 1970s. Yet, the Incas had mastered it centuries earlier without a single page of technical drawings. The MIT team concluded that the Inca builders intuitively understood concepts that would not be formally articulated for hundreds of years. The discovery reframed everything. These walls weren't a lucky accident or the product of trial and error. They were sophisticated, purpose-built machines for surviving earthquakes. And the more the engineers studied, the more they realized they were looking at a level of structural knowledge that seemed centuries out of place. Modern laser scanning added another layer to the mystery. High-resolution 3D imaging allowed researchers to map the exact surface contours of each block, revealing fits so precise they border on the impossible. The contact points between adjacent stones matched within fractions of a millimeter, and not just along a few inches of edge, but across surfaces several square meters wide. For context, even contemporary precision machining struggles to achieve that level of accuracy on large objects. The Incas somehow reached it using nothing more than stone hammers, bronze chisels, and wooden wedges. Engineers expected that such tight fits would create problems. With daily temperature swings in the Andes, expansion and contraction should have stressed the stones, creating cracks over time. Yet the walls have endured centuries of thermal cycling without the slightest sign of separation. Close inspection of the stones told another story. Subtle chisel marks and delicately smoothed planes revealed that each block underwent an iterative process of shaping and testing. Builders placed a stone, marked the tiny points where it failed to fit, lifted it out and refined it over and over until the match was absolute. Every curve, every angle was intentional. As researchers dug deeper, they discovered geometric relationships between stones that weren't random ornamentation, but the embodiment of mathematical ideas centuries ahead of their time. The patterns follow principles similar to those described in modern crystallography, a branch of science that didn't formally emerge until the 19th century. Computer modeling suggested that entire wall segments were conceived as unified systems rather than simple block-by-block assemblies. It was as if the builders visualized the completed wall in 3 dimensions long before the first stone was set, a concept strikingly similar to today's computer-aided design. This revelation sparked unsettling questions. How could a culture without a written language or metal measuring devices plan such intricate geometry? Did they possess sophisticated tools that simply have not survived in the archaeological record? The mathematics alone seems almost impossible without precision instruments. Adding to the enigma is the sudden appearance of this skill. Early Inca structures, while solid, show relatively conventional masonry. Then, seemingly overnight, their stonework leaps to unmatched sophistication. There is no gradual learning curve, only a sharp break, as if an entirely new source of knowledge appeared fully formed. The mystery extends skyward. Those famous trapezoidal doorways and windows found in palaces, temples, and humble homes alike are not mere stylistic flourishes. They are mathematically optimized to channel seismic forces around openings, reducing stress concentrations and preventing collapse. Modern engineers only adopted similar designs after the advent of finite element analysis in the 1960s, yet the Incas wove even greater complexity into their architecture by aligning structures with celestial events. At Machu Picchu's Temple of the Sun, the windows frame the winter solstice sunrise with astonishing precision. On that day, the first shaft of light passes through a specific opening and illuminates a carved stone inside. Not roughly, but exactly, accurate to mere millimeters. Such feats demand more than casual stargazing. To achieve that level of alignment, builders needed detailed knowledge of the sun's annual path, careful long-term observations, and the ability to calculate celestial positions across decades. And these alignments have held true for over 5 centuries despite continental drift and subtle changes in Earth's tilt. Further studies reveal that many Inca sites align not only with the sun and moon but with star positions that were significant thousands of years before the Inca civilization even existed. Due to the slow wobble of Earth's axis, a phenomenon called precession, stars shift over millennia. Ancient star maps become obsolete unless corrected with complex formulas. Somehow, the Incas accounted for these changes, as if they had access to astronomical data stretching back far beyond their own time. This is not a single isolated example. Across the empire, from Cusco to the Sacred Valley, temples, roads, and ceremonial plazas repeatedly demonstrate an intimate conversation with the cosmos. Their builders understood the cycles of the heavens with a depth that challenges our assumptions about what a pre-literate society could know. One of the most enigmatic artifacts is the Intihuatana stone at Machu Picchu. At first glance, it looks like an oddly carved outcrop of granite. In reality, it functions as a 3-dimensional calendar, sundial, and astronomical computer all at once. Its angular surfaces track the sun's movement across the year, marking solstices and equinoxes with remarkable accuracy. Modern analysis reveals that the stone's geometry encodes calculations equivalent to spherical trigonometry, centuries before mathematicians formalized those concepts. Some of its alignments point to star clusters and nebulae invisible to the naked eye during the Inca era, objects that require telescopes to detect. Even what appears to be decoration often carries hidden meaning. Carvings once thought abstract turn out to be precise star maps, accurate down to specific constellations and visible only from certain vantage points during brief windows of time. Recent satellite surveys suggest that the layout of entire Inca cities forms a gigantic astronomical calendar stretching across hundreds of miles. Temples, roads, and sacred sites all interconnect like gears in a cosmic machine, mapping solstices, equinoxes, and stellar events on a continental scale. As astounding as the astronomical alignments are, the logistics of construction may be even more confounding. Some stones at Sacsayhuaman and other sites weigh 200 tons or more. Moving a single block of that size across rugged Andean terrain should be impossible without modern machinery. Yet archaeological evidence shows the Incas did exactly that repeatedly. Consider the physics. Lifting a 200-ton stone with primitive levers would require at least 2,000 workers. Dragging it across level ground might take 4,000, all pulling in perfect synchronization. But the Incas weren't dealing with level ground. They moved these blocks up 30-degree mountain slopes, which triples the necessary force. By that calculation, more than 12,000 workers would be needed for a single stone. No traces of the massive infrastructure such a feat would require have been found. No roadbeds strong enough, no enormous campsites to house thousands of laborers, no kitchens or storage depots for food. Many of the stones were quarried miles from their final locations, sometimes on the far side of deep river valleys and sheer ridges. The largest blocks at Sacsayhuaman have been traced to quarries more than 20 miles away. Adding to the mystery, construction often continued through the rainy season, when paths turned to mud and rivers surged. Delivery of stones was steady and year-round, as if weather posed no obstacle. Some routes have inclines steeper than 45 degrees, slopes that challenge modern heavy equipment. Others traverse narrow mountain ledges barely wide enough for a single worker, let alone the team supposedly required to drag these megaliths, and these stones were not rough slabs. Many were carved to their final intricate shapes before transport, meaning they had to arrive without so much as a chipped edge. One mistake would have ruined months of careful shaping, yet they sit today, perfectly intact, testaments to a transportation system that defies our understanding of ancient logistics. Archaeology offers no satisfying explanation. No pulleys or wheeled carts have been found. The Incas possessed only bronze chisels, wooden rollers, and stone hammers, tools that on paper shouldn't have been capable of such feats. Wear patterns on the stones indicate they were adjusted repeatedly until the fit was flawless. But how does one fine-tune the placement of a 50 or 200-ton block using such primitive tools? Some blocks were deliberately carved with curved surfaces that interlocked in 3 dimensions, locking together like pieces of a giant puzzle. Each stone is unique, fitting only one specific location. The precision required not only immense labor, but also careful planning. Every stone's shape had to be calculated to distribute weight evenly across multiple contact points. One miscalculation could have triggered catastrophic collapse. And yet the Incas achieved perfection again and again across hundreds of buildings, without cranes, without iron, and without a single written blueprint. The next wave of insight came when researchers applied advanced artificial intelligence to full 3D scans of Inca sites. Machine learning algorithms detected patterns invisible to the human eye and uncovered construction techniques absent from historical records. Some findings bordered on science fiction. The joints between stones, it turned out, acted like engineered interfaces that could dampen seismic vibrations, similar to the cutting-edge field of metamaterials, where scientists create substances with properties not found in nature. During earthquakes, these stone interfaces may have generated frequencies that canceled destructive seismic waves, a concept that 21st century physics is only beginning to explore. AI also mapped the Inca road system and revealed a hidden geometric network stretching across the Andes. Cities, roads, and sacred sites formed a vast lattice that may have functioned as an enormous astronomical observatory or even a primitive data processing network for predicting celestial events and seismic activity. To fully model this system, researchers now use quantum computing, technology far beyond anything imagined in the 15th century, yet seemingly anticipated by the Incas. Take a slow walk through Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman and try sliding a sheet of paper into the joints. You won't succeed. These aren't small stones. Many are multi-ton volcanic andesite blocks, cut and set so meticulously that even modern stonemasons marvel at them. Spanish conquistadors in the 1500s were convinced the Incas possessed supernatural powers. Some claimed the stones had been softened like clay and then molded into shape, a theory modern geology has disproven. Rock cannot be softened without heat exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius, and there is no evidence the Incas could generate, let alone sustain such temperatures. Instead, the perfection comes from human ingenuity at its highest level. Each surface was calculated to distribute weight evenly and interlock with its neighbors in a three-dimensional matrix. The result is a structural masterpiece that has endured centuries of earthquakes, landslides, and storms without the use of mortar. Microscopic examination of contact surfaces shows that stones were moved and adjusted repeatedly until they achieved an ideal fit. But how do you nudge a 50-ton block into position again and again with only wooden levers and stone hammers? Some blocks include deliberately curved planes and interlocking shapes that demand advanced geometric planning. Mathematical analysis reveals ratios and angles consistent with complex theorems that wouldn't be articulated for centuries. And yet the only tools recovered from Inca sites are bronze chisels and simple pounding stones. No advanced measuring instruments, no iron or steel, no pulleys or gears. This tool paradox continues to puzzle archaeologists and engineers alike. Either the Incas discovered techniques now lost to history, or they possessed an intuitive understanding of geometry and physics so profound that they achieved results we still struggle to duplicate, even with lasers and computer modeling. Were the Incas simply unmatched engineers whose methods have vanished with time, or did they tap into a body of knowledge humanity has yet to rediscover? Their walls stand silent but eloquent, challenging every assumption about what ancient humans could achieve and reminding us how much of our past remains unexplained. High in the Andes, the Incas built more than terraces and temples. They built rivers in stone. Beneath the carefully stepped mountainsides runs a labyrinth of subterranean canals and carved aqueducts that still carry meltwater from distant glaciers to fields hundreds of meters below. Modern engineers, tracing the channels with sensors and dye, found pressure regulation chambers that keep a steady flow through drought and flood alike. No iron pipes, no industrial pumps. Yet water descends and ascends as if guided by invisible hands. Layers of gravel, sand, and fertile soil are stacked with scientific precision. Gravel for drainage, sand for filtration, rich topsoil for crops. These terraces form a living laboratory in hydraulics, demonstrating a mastery of hydrodynamics that rivals 21st century civil engineering. 500 years later, the system still works flawlessly. Step into the ceremonial plaza of Ollantaytambo and whisper. The mountains answer. Walls of granite and stairways of perfectly angled stone transform a quiet murmur into a thunderous echo. Modern acoustic scientists measure resonant frequencies that match those in today's concert halls. The Incas designed for sound as carefully as they designed for sight. Chants amplified until they seemed to descend from the clouds, drums reverberating like distant storms. Ritual gatherings would have felt supernatural, as if the gods themselves spoke through the stone. Beneath Cusco and Machu Picchu lie shadows of another world. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed sealed voids and sinuous tunnels under major plazas, some filled with water, others packed with finely cut stones. Were these secret ceremonial paths to the underworld, royal escape routes, or vast storage networks? Archaeologists debate. But one fact is certain. Carving these chambers through solid granite without destabilizing the mighty structures above required an engineering insight we are only beginning to understand. The terraced slopes were more than fields. They were an agricultural symphony. Lower levels stayed warm, nurturing tropical fruits. Higher steps remained cool for alpine potatoes. By manipulating altitude and orientation, the Incas created multiple microclimates on a single mountainside. Modern agronomists confirm that their soil mixing techniques prevented erosion and naturally replenished nutrients. Genetic studies show hundreds of potato and maize varieties, the product of deliberate crossbreeding and patient experimentation. This was food security through biodiversity, centuries before the term existed. Every carving tells a cosmic story. Pumas, condors, and serpents appear across the empire, representing the three realms of Inca belief: underworld, earthly life, and the heavens. Stone niches align with the solstice sun so that, on a single sacred day, a beam of light strikes a carving and sets it aglow. Constellation patterns are etched into walls, mirroring the sky above and serving as both calendar and scripture. Art, science, and spirituality merge in each chisel mark, turning architecture into a living map of the universe. Today, engineers facing powerful earthquakes study Inca walls for clues to safer housing. Urban planners look to Inca water management to design sustainable irrigation in arid lands. Their brilliance lay not only in the stone but in the philosophy, technology woven seamlessly with nature. The Incas proved that advanced knowledge is not measured in microchips or steel, but in the harmony between human ambition and the planet that sustains it. Their mountains of stone still stand, whispering to us that the greatest science may be the art of living in balance. From mountaintop observatories to city plazas, the Incas treated the night sky as a vast living calendar. Stone sightlines aim with uncanny precision at solstice and equinox sunrises. Researchers using planetarium software confirm that some alignments forecasted eclipses decades ahead. Inca priests could read the heavens to predict planting seasons and even social ceremonies, proving that astronomy was not decoration, it was statecraft. Gold and silver gleamed across the empire. Yet no massive smelters or smoke-blackened pits marked the landscape. Instead, metallurgists mastered low-temperature techniques and complex alloys, creating ornaments and ceremonial blades of breathtaking purity. Microscopic analysis reveals layering and diffusion, methods similar to modern nanoplating accomplished with clay furnaces and hand bellows. Inca healers used more than 1,000. Cataloged plants for surgery and medicine. Trepanation, delicate skull operations, shows survival rates that rival modern hospitals. Archaeologists studying skeletal remains found evidence of precise anesthesia with coca derivatives and herbal antiseptics, centuries before the germ theory of disease. Stretching over 40,000 kilometers, the Capacñan road system stitched together deserts, jungles, and high peaks. Suspension bridges of woven grass spanned roaring gorges and were rebuilt annually through communal effort. Engineers are still astonished by the drainage design. Stone channels and graded slopes kept paths dry through torrential Andean rains. Behind the stone and science was a social structure of astonishing efficiency. Mita labor obligations rotated workers so that no community bore crushing burdens, while knowledge and resources flowed like the rivers they managed. The empire functioned without money. Meticulous accounting with quipus, knotted strings, tracked everything from harvests to astronomy data. The Inti, or sun god, was more than a deity. It was an energy source for social cohesion. Festivals timed to solar events reinforced agricultural cycles and imperial authority. Rituals focused collective effort, much like modern large-scale civic projects, binding engineering, religion, and governance into one system. Today's architects borrow from Inca masonry for earthquake-proof skyscrapers. Agronomists replicate terrace farming to feed growing populations on steep terrain. Hydrologists revive ancient canal systems to combat drought in Peru and Bolivia. Each rediscovery proves that lost Inca knowledge is a blueprint for a sustainable future. For every solved riddle, be it cosmic alignment or surgical skill, another emerges. Who first charted the skies with such precision? What forgotten experiments lie sealed in tunnels we have yet to enter? The stones remain silent, but their endurance speaks louder than words. Human potential, when harmonized with nature, may have no limit. Deep beneath terrace fields, engineers have discovered layered gravel filters and underground cisterns. These silent reservoirs captured glacial melt and released it through stone channels only when crops demanded. Modern hydrologists call it an automatic irrigation algorithm, a living computer made of rock and water, long thought to be mere accounting strings. New decipherments reveal quipus storing complex narratives, genealogies, astronomical records, even music. Color patterns and knot spacing form a binary-like code that rivals early written languages in data density. It's as if the Incas had invented an analog hard drive centuries before silicon temples and plazas often create uncanny echoes. Clap your hands at Machu Picchu's main square, and you'll hear a bird-like chirp bounce back, tuned to the call of the sacred Andean Quetzal. Acoustic modeling shows deliberate shaping of walls and staircases to amplify chants and music, transforming ritual into immersive soundscapes. Genetic studies of Inca descendants reveal unique adaptations for life above 12,000 feet. Enhanced oxygen transport, higher lung capacity, and resistance to hypoxia. While evolution played a role, archaeological evidence shows dietary innovations, quinoa, maca, and freeze-dried chuño potatoes boosted endurance for labor and construction. At dawn on equinox days, shafts of sunlight snake through temple corridors to illuminate carved spirals and animal motifs otherwise invisible. These light shows are not chance. They act as annual timestamps, synchronizing calendars across the empire and reaffirming cosmic order. Inca terracing didn't just prevent erosion, it created microclimates. Stones absorbed heat by day and released it at night, protecting crops from frost. Soil layers were intentionally mixed with sand, clay, and organic matter to maintain fertility for centuries without chemical fertilizer. Climate scientists now test Inca terrace designs to fight soil loss in Asia and Africa. Architects study their passive cooling systems for energy-efficient housing. What was once seen as ancient superstition is fast becoming a model for a warming planet. From Chile to California, earthquake-prone architects adapt Inca interlocking masonry principles. Data scientists examine quipu patterns for early examples of algorithmic thinking. The empire's genius lives on, proving that the line between ancient and advanced is far thinner than we imagined. Even with satellites and quantum computing, we still cannot fully replicate their precision stonework. Perhaps the greatest Inca secret isn't a single technique or tool, but a worldview. Knowledge as a living partnership between humanity and earth, where science, art, and spirit are one. Excavations in remote Andean peaks reveal polished stone discs and sighting pillars whose alignments match lunar standstills. Some archaeologists now suspect these were portable observatories, tools that let priests track the moon's 18.6-year cycle with a precision modern. Calendars only later formalized. Researchers in environmental psychology proposed that the maze-like walls and angled plazas were not just structural but cognitive. Their subtle curves guide movement, slow breathing, and create a sense of awe that reinforces collective identity. Architecture as an ancient form of behavioral design. Charcoal samples show that the Incas could generate consistent high heat with almost no visible smoke. This stealth technology kept ceremonial flames pure and allowed nighttime metalwork without betraying light to distant watchers. An early form of energy efficiency and controlled combustion. Radiating from Cusco like spokes of a wheel were sacred pathways called seques. Each line connected shrines, water sources, and astronomical markers in a pattern now interpreted as a gigantic three-dimensional calendar, mapping both terrain and time in a single cosmic diagram. Ceramic flutes and drums found in highland temples produce resonances measured to calm heart rates and induce meditative states. Medical acousticians believe the Incas intuitively harnessed sound therapy centuries before modern studies of binaural beats and vibrational healing. Centuries before global seed banks, Inca farmers cultivated thousands of potato and maize varieties across microclimates, ensuring food security against drought or disease. Today, geneticists credit these ancient experiments with preserving traits that still safeguard modern agriculture. Some Inca settlements were deliberately dismantled after short use, leaving only faint terraces and stone outlines. Archaeologists now see this as planned obsolescence. Sites built for specific celestial events or rituals, then respectfully deconstructed so nature could reclaim them. Despite legends of treasure, the Incas invested their true wealth in information, road maps, plant lore, sky charts encoded in quipus and oral tradition. This intellectual gold passed through memory and ritual proved far harder for conquistadors to steal than metal. Urban planners revisit Inca city layouts, walkable, self-draining, and earthquake-ready, to inspire sustainable smart cities. The blend of geometry, community planning, and ecological respect reads less like ancient history and more like a guidebook for the future. Every new LiDAR scan or AI model uncovers another riddle, a corridor that channels solstice light, a terrace that sings in the wind. Perhaps the Incas never meant their knowledge to be fully decoded. Perhaps the lesson is the pursuit itself, reminding us that true mastery is a dialogue across time. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed vast underground chambers beneath certain Inca plazas. These hidden spaces show careful ventilation shafts and resonant stone arches, suggesting they were designed as acoustic amplifiers for ceremonies, or perhaps as earthquake shock absorbers far below the visible foundations. Every year, villagers in remote Peru still rebuild Cuishuachaca, a grass suspension bridge using techniques unchanged for 5 centuries. The ritual weaving of ichu grass into massive cables is a living demonstration of Inca engineering knowledge, proving that their mastery survives not just in stone,